we did an episode where we hung him on the wall. And you have to adhere to.
This was so awful.
You have
Tom
to
and
adhere
John, okay?
to the clock when you are working. So right at noon, you have to go to lunch. And in those old days, if you had a canister of film, you could roll through. You'd have to call grace. I mean, the rules are extremely strict. They've always been very, very strict. So we got Sonny on the wall. Like at 11:59, and then it was like, well, shoot, we got to go to lunch. All right, that's lunch. And we went to take Sonny off the wall and said, no, I don't. He wouldn't let us take him off the wall because he felt it would ruin his motivation somehow. Yeah. So he spent an hour up there on that hook on the wall.
Yeah.
Yep, and then I think when we came back, he was asleep.
Yeah.
Without further ado, I would like to introduce, from the Dukes of Hazzard, Tom Wopat, John Schneider, and the lovely Catherine Bach. Tom's getting lost.
You care?
On three. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah! All right. Well done, Tom Wopat. You look mean today, Tom.
Say what?
You look mean.
I am mean.
Oh, okay.
I'm mean as a snake.
Mean as a snake.
He isn't. I'm here to tell you he's not as mean as a snake.
Well, it depends on the snake.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we? Hi.
Hello.
Oh well, you can't see us really back there, people. That kind of stinks. We might have to stand up. Can you do that?
Can we sit on a table?
Let's do that.
Okay.
You can take those mics out of the holders if you want.
That's not fair. You can't see us.
You take the mic out of the stand.
We could put chairs on the. Never mind. Be careful! Don't you sit in the crack there? Careful, Catherine.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to just have a couple questions, and then what I'd like, if you have questions, actually, I guess I'm going to have to be Donahue. I will come along to you guys. But very simple starting question. What got you guys into acting?
Well, I think probably 3 different things.
3 different things, okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I grew up
A little closer.
in Lodi, Wisconsin, and we had a real good school system. I started singing when I was just a little guy. And so I started doing musicals when I was 12. I went to University of Wisconsin, got a little training in singing and acting, and did some summer stock and went to New York. Was on Broadway in 6 months, and then I was on TV in less than a year.
That is awesome. Wow.
Pretty cool. That's quick.
What was your first musical, and do you have any songs that you can sing from it?
No. The first musical I did on Broadway is called I Love My Wife.
Oh, that's a nice one.
It's a great musical. It's a Cy Coleman musical. And Frank Sinatra recorded the title cut.
What was that?
I love my
What?
wife.
Huh?
I love my wife.
I Love My Wife, the eponymous.
Can you sing it?
No.
Can you sing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
How long is this
In
panel,
case
by the way?
you didn't know.
45 minutes.
my wife.
You'll have about 5
That's
after
it.
this.
You're up.
Nice. Okay.
Catherine, what got you into the acting world?
I just, I saw my uncle perform Mr. Wonderful. My uncle was supposed to be a priest, and he left the seminary after being in there for 3 years, realized what he really was an entertainer. So he started doing all the plays in Hollywood. And I saw him in this play, Mr. Wonderful, and I went, that looks like a lot of fun. And Solid Gold Cadillac, anybody ever saw, did you ever see that? Anybody here? These are the old musicals. And I looked at it and I just said, okay, that's for me. So I started singing, and my first thing was singing at Knott's Berry Farm. I sang a bunch of little songs with a banjo player, and then I think maybe I was 9 years old, I played Brigida in and Sound of Music and the local production in Los Angeles because my parents got divorced, so they had to figure out something to do with me during the summer, and I'd say, I want to do this, or I want to be an acting camp, and they'd say, sure. And so I auditioned for this play, and I got it. So I was taken care of for that whole summer, and then I did a lot of summer stock. And then when I was a little older, they said, well, what do you want to be in life? My mom wanted me to be a stewardess. My dad wanted me to be a teacher. And I said, I'm going to be an actress. And they said, why in the heck would you do that? And they hated that idea, but that's what I went to school for, and that's what I became. And
I think you could have been a flight attendant.
Could have been a
I
flight
know.
attendant. Right.
I could have seen the
You'd be
world
world
like my
famous.
mom wanted me to see.
John
the
could have been a
world.
flight attendant.
He could have.
I used to go to a double feature at Mount Kisco movie theater every Saturday.
Oh, me too.
And you didn't grow up in Mount Kisco.
No, but in L.A. I did.
But so I went there, and John Wayne was on the screen, and Robert Redford was on the screen, and I looked up there, and at about 8 years old, I thought, that's where I'm supposed to be, up there, for people who love to be entertained. So I set my sights on being in movies and musicals like Mr. Wopat and Miss Bach, and have never, so from 8 years old, have never really strayed away from that. I had a job as a bouncer once for about a week, and that was it. Didn't go very well for me, so that was it. And I worked at Bert's Place for one day. I worked 14 hours. I got $12, and I quit. That was it.
Well, as a bouncer, I think you would intimidate most of us, right? If you really wanted to.
No, this was a college.
He was a kid. He was
I was the
kid.
one that got intimidated.
Yeah.
Well, that's not very
He got bounced.
I got bounced. Yeah. Yep.
So, Catherine, I did want to ask you. I actually understand that you have put out a jewelry line. What got you into that?
You know, I think it all. No, I wish. Just another way to spend my money. No, I loved the idea. I've always loved the idea of creating it. And my husband represented the USC marching band, which did very well under Larry Livingston. And I said, you know what? You're down here at USC all the time. I've always had this idea to do a jewelry line. So I hired the whole graphics department and the teacher, and I made my jewelry line there. And I did pretty good. But again, I sold it. I did sort of an out-of-town thing. I sold it in London and in the international QBC market. And I just couldn't make enough money to justify going over there 5 times a year. And I was always going to bring it back. And then I had kids, and I have it, of course, but, I'm not active with it.
Okay. Cool.
So if you want anything, I'm going to get my website up, and then you can see all these crazy things I've done, and you'll see, okay.
Not literally all the crazy things.
No.
she's
Well,
doing.
maybe not all the crazy things,
So
but
it's family friendly. Good.
Not going there.
So, John, you were on a show later on that a lot of us enjoyed called Smallville.
yay!
So was Tom. Tom did a guest spot on that show.
Actually, I was going to ask, what was it like having your old cousin show up with a Dodge Charger?
With a
I
Dodge
thought it was
Charger,
great.
With
I
a
really-
broken door.
Yeah, with a broken door, and he said,
I was a senator who lost his job because of a lap dance.
What?
Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah. So it was
the
great
80s.
having Tom there. But I tell you what was odd was whenever we worked together on Dukes, we all of a sudden have these Southern accents. And I'm from New York. He's from Wisconsin. Catherine asked me to talk like Bo to a fan who was in line yesterday who was blind, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't remember.
So I did it.
So she did it. So she talked like Bo. But
I did.
the hard part for me was when Tom was getting in the car was not shifting into the Southern accent as Jonathan Kent. So I had to, be serious, get in. And I thought it was great. It was a great opportunity for us to
Were
be
you guys
back
supposed to be in
together again.
Kansas or somewhere?
Kansas, Smallville is in
Yeah.
Kansas. Yes,
Okay.
Tom.
Well, that's kind of
Hey, buddy.
southern.
Hey, buddy. What?
That's kind of southern.
Yeah.
Southwestern. Kind
Well, I
of.
wasn't going to, but I didn't have a Southern accent on Smallville, so I wasn't all of a sudden going to put one on. Oh, look, there's your friend. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Jonathan, no, that wouldn't work. That would not work.
That'd be awesome. So if anyone has any questions, please, raise your hands.
Raise your
I'm gonna
foot.
come over.
Make this interesting. Raise your foot if you have.
All right, I'm going to start with this one up here because it's less of a walk.
Lazy.
Before your role in Smallville, how much of a comic book fan were you?
I was a big Superman fan from the George Reeves show. But I was not so much into comics when I was a kid. We had Silly Putty, and I would take the like Dick Tracy off the newspaper, the comic section of the newspaper. But I was not a comic book collector. But if there was ever a superhero I would ever want to have anything to do with, it was Superman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I talk?
You have a question?
I learned how to read on comic books and fairy tales. And I am an avid reader today. And Superman, I had the biggest collection, and my mom threw it away when I went to college.
Oh,
no! I know. From the time I was 6 years old on, I loved Superman.
Wow.
Yep. So, and I like.
And she still knows all the fairy tales. So.
I do. I like it all. I like the
Fractured Fairy Tale, Super Friends. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, Super Friends. I haven't thought of that in a long time. Yes.
So my question for you three is basically if you could pick one absolute favorite moment from Dukes of Hazzard and for you two, Smallville, what would it be? Because I know there was probably so many.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, for me, I would have to say we spent days in the car, John and I, and they did this thing called Process at the end of every episode where we would shoot a bunch of scenes inside the car. And we were inside the car, kind of felt like 24/7. But I always had a great time in the car with John. We had a blast.
Yep. Any time in the car with Tom was great. And he would, he'd have his cup of coffee, and we'd come sliding into town, and it became kind of a thing. He never spilled a drop.
Oh.
I was driving. He never spilled a drop. I tried to slide in town and not spill a drop. And
we ran over some gas pumps once, didn't we?
What?
Didn't we run over some gas pumps?
We ran over in a curb, and
I ran into a semi.
You ran into a semi. I ran into a building.
Oh, you sure did.
I did, and nobody was filming that. I was showing him. We had just come back from our strike, and I was showing him how to. Got to remember how to do a 90. So we're going to throw the car 90, and I hit the only real building on the back lot. I smacked it. And oddly, it was the blind school from Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, that's the one I hit. Had to go back to the transportation department with my tail between my legs, basically. He said, I kind of dented the brand new nice car. It was bad. Bad.
No gravel driveway was safe from me because Paul Baxley taught me how to throw the car sideways. So if I saw a gravel driveway at a restaurant, you better believe I was going in sideways all the way. And the valet and people would be
just practice. It's practice.
Stop. I would just stop on a dime.
Taking your
I had
trade
so much
seriously.
fun. Yes, I was. Yes. I was doing homework. So.
Next question, somebody somewhere. Yes.
I got a question for
nice
you.
Hairdo.
You and thanks. Got a question for you and Tom.
Thank you for the shirt, by the way.
You're welcome. Very welcome, John. Were you two did concerts in the past together? Do you think there'd be another one?
Oh, I expect we'll sing together again sometime somewhere.
Yeah, why not? It's fun. It's a lot of fun singing with Tom.
Would love to see you two on stage again.
And we do. I really can't stay.
Tom, hold on. We were so ahead of our time.
RuPaul said that was her favorite new Christmas carol, with me and John singing "Baby It's Cold Outside."
Baby,
Johnny,
it's cold outside. Johnny,
outside.
it's cold outside. It was great fun.
Oh, that's
The
hilarious.
Christmas album's great.
Great run on the Dukes of Hazzard. Wow. Could you talk a little bit about the casting call? Did you have an agent at the time? I heard somebody brought a 6-pack of beer on the casting call.
John was into method acting and at a fairly early age.
Yeah.
No, he was 18 years old and he wanted to look rough and tough and be the part and,
Yeah. So I showed up.
So he showed up looking grubby and with a 6-pack.
6-pack?
Of beer.
Oh.
Yeah. The other came later.
they were. I was in Atlanta at the time. I'm from New York, but my mother worked for IBM. She was transferred to Atlanta. Had auditioned for Welcome Back, Kotter that week, and The Great Santini with Robert Duvall, and this thing called The Dukes of Hazzard.
Wow. You
So
could have been Vinnie Barbarino.
I know. No, I think it was Stephen Shortridge or somebody. That was to replace him. Yeah, that was 1978. But I heard they wanted people 24 to 30 from the rural South with racing experience. And I was 18 from Westchester County, New York, and had only had a license for about a year and a half. So I told them I was 24 from Snailville, Georgia, and I had just finished first in my class at the Georgia School of High Performance Driving, which did not exist. But there was no internet. They couldn't check anything in those days.
Yes, that's right.
And,
They figured he had chutzpah at least.
well, yeah. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression, so go for it. So I did.
Tell him about how we met.
How did we meet, Catherine?
Oh, John.
Tell me it, because it changes every time.
I walked in the door.
You walked in the door.
Use your microphone. Use your microphone. Use your words.
At Warner Brothers.
At Guy Waldron's office, or Phil Mandelker's office.
Okay, I'm going to start
Yeah.
from the beginning. Forget
I remember you took me on a tour of Century City.
So I went in there, and the creator of the show was pretty much, I was the only girl with brown hair that he'd seen. I was the only girl that was sort of had that country tough thing. And Tomboy thing. And he started seeing that Daisy's the only person that wasn't based in reality. Every other part was.
And it's still to this day.
Royal oil plate. Still, you're so full of it.
Sorry.
And so I was in there for quite a while. And when I walked out, here's this kid that I met going in. And I said, hey, what are you still doing here? And what did you say?
I don't remember.
He said, well, I don't drive. He goes, I'm 18 and I can't rent a car. So I got to wait for somebody. And I said, oh, no. And he goes, I've been here every single day, all day, every day for the last 2 weeks. I'm just kind of like hanging out. Like this is what I'm doing.
It all comes back.
I said, you're getting out of here right now. I'm
like
taking
a bad
you.
dream.
And we're going to go. I'm going to show you the town, kiddo.
She did.
So we went everywhere. And I showed him Beverly Hills. I showed him.
That Hansel and Gretel house in Beverly Hills.
And then I took him back to his little, that's right.
Back to my hotel
I
in
took him back to
Toluca
your
Lake.
little
Toluca
hotel
Lake,
in
that
Toluca
lovely
Lake.
hotel.
Yes.
And then, lo and behold, 2 weeks later, we
We were Bo, Luke, and Daisy.
were Bo, Luke, and
Yeah.
Daisy. And I met you at a Holiday Inn.
It's not my fault.
Yeah.
I asked for a redhead. I don't know what happened.
Oh, you guys, my getting the part was like a long and twisty road. It was the craziest thing. Crazy. It started with, I got married at 21, which in South Dakota, where I was from, you're not really grown up until you have a kid in high school. And then you go through, is it like that here? Raise your hand if it's it's not like that here. Yeah, so
Do you mean if you're old enough to have a child who's in high school, or do you mean have a kid while you're in high
I would
school?
have a kid while you're in high school.
Oh, okay.
So South Dakota.
Okay.
So I came out here, and I was in college at 16 and a half at UCLA, and then 5 years later I met this guy, and I got married 3 months later, and then
This is the second marriage.
first marriage.
Oh, okay.
She did not have the kid in high school.
Ah, okay.
No, I
All
didn't.
right. I'm just
And so
trying to keep up
and
here.
so then I'm married, and I'm sitting around the house doing nothing because he doesn't really like me to work. He likes me to hang out and iron his shirts. And I wrote this play, and it became kind of a thing. I sold it to ABC, and I became I was hired to be a movie of the week writer. They said, we'll have you on, you'll be a co-writer for a while, and then you're going to have your own shows. I said, great. And then a month later, while I'm celebrating with my girlfriend,
This is a long, twisty tale.
I said, come on, we're in Beverly Hills. We never get here. Let's go walk down Rodeo Drive. And she goes, oh, no, I got to go to my French class. And I said, no, come on, what's wrong with you? We're out of here. And she says, no. And she goes, don't you have anything to do? And I said, well, I'm supposed to go on an interview for that part, the Daisy Duke part. Now, the guy who wrote the show under Guy Waldron, Bob Clark, had suggested, he was painting houses for my husband who had a construction company. He says, you have to go. We talk about you on the show and how you show up here at this, we talk about you. And I said, oh yeah, I know he's being nice to Peter. And, there's no reason for me to go in there. They want a girl. They want Dolly Parton, David and Shaw. They want Dolly Parton and they want a whole different thing. And so she goes, Catherine, where's the interview? And I said, it's going to be at Warner Brothers. She goes, Catherine, will you please just go? She goes, you never know who you're going to meet on the way in or the way out. And then I ended up
meeting me.
Meeting John.
Yeah.
And then, anyhow.
And you got
That's how I got the part.
it? It was great.
But boy, did I have a lot of readings at CBS. Did you?
Me too. Yeah, every week. 5 weeks.
And I had guys, like there was one guy who showed up with his girlfriend. He said, it's so nice that you're here and people will see you, but I'm not going to do the part unless my girlfriend does it. So
That would be Dennis Quaid. I just saw Dennis 2 weeks ago.
did he tell you
Yeah.
that story?
There's a lot of stories people believe. There's a lot of things people believe about how they had the part and then
was
it was stolen from
craziest
them
thing.
or,
And his brother is even farther gone.
or whatever. Yeah. So, any more questions, please?
Yeah.
And we'll keep the answers to
Minimum.
shorter.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make this a quick two-parter. First off,
Quick
how did-
two-parter. Nice.
Sorry. First off, how did you guys feel like when the show started blowing up? Did you guys take that into account? Like, how did you feel about that? And the second part is, I grew up with a bunch of Dukes of Hazzard merchandise as a kid. I had the sleeping bags, the racing set,
Love it.
bed sheets. I had everything. How did you feel when you saw yourself on merchandise? That's my question.
Underoos was a little odd. But remember, I was 18, so I was only 2 years from Smoking the Bandit, which in 1977 was the #1 box office movie in the world until Star Wars happened. So, but Smoking the Bandit, which was a movie that cost about $3 million, I think it grossed $270 million. And I was living in the South, and we all had CBs in our cars. And so when Dukes happened at 18, for me, it was like, well, this is going to be a monstrous hit. So I was not surprised, but I didn't know how few shows actually made it on the air, let alone became monstrous hits. And Dukes was a monstrous hit right away. It did not grow on people.
No.
It just came right out of the gate.
Well, it grew on Hollywood, but not on
Well, I don't think it
people
ever
out in the
really grew on
audience.
Hollywood. They were embarrassed by us. Yep. I think I answered your question.
All right, we have another one here.
Plural.
Hi guys, I was a huge fan of Dukes of Hazzard when I was a kid.
I should see that by your shirt.
I'm alluding to a little something later. But as I got older, I also became a fan of, well, first, Catherine, I enjoyed your performance in Cannonball. And I have a question also, well, for John, I was also a huge fan of you in Smallville. So the question for the two of you is, Catherine, you're associated with two iconic vehicles in the General Lee and the Lamborghini. So I was curious, which one was your favorite? And for John, I was a huge fan of your Jonathan Kent. One of my favorite episodes of Smallville was when Christopher Reeve was on there as Dr. Swan. So I was curious, did you ever get a chance to interact with him, or what? Do you have any stories?
I did not interact with him because they went and filmed where he was because Chris couldn't move. Christopher couldn't be moved. But I had known him prior to that. Great guy, very tragic, certainly a tragic tale. What you don't know is that the Lamborghini that Catherine and Susan were in, the white one, I had rented I had a Countach, an 82 Countach, I rented to Hal Needham, who was a friend, for this movie called Cannonball Run. And it came back and it looked like somebody had been doing drywall, and I couldn't figure out, because it was red. So in that movie, I go and I watch the movie, and here's this white Countach running all around the place. I think, where's my car? Where's my damn car? And then they pull around somewhere, and the girls get out, and you see they didn't paint the jams. They didn't bother to paint the door jams. So there's my red car, and then they spray it, which is why it looked like somebody had been doing drywall. And Hal never told me that he had painted my car with basically, white latex house paint. And you and Susan.
Well, here's the story. On my side of the story, Hal Needham and I had the same business manager, And Burt Reynolds was my good friend. I'd done 2 movies with him by that point and done a play with him. And John couldn't stop buying cars and things like crazy. I mean, he had everything. He had a mechanic full time. And it's like, do you think you could help him out? He needs to make these car payments. I mean, there's a couple of times I've really been there for you, John.
Hal did not give me very much money for that car.
Oh, no problem. And, my business manager, Laura Leiser, is talking to Hal, and everybody's like, we got to use that car, but be careful with it because it's John's car. And so there's like, no problem. And then I show up on set, the car is white, and I faint. I said, I've done I put regular gas in his NASCAR one time, okay? He would give me a car to take to kids to have them drive. Remember that horrible thing? And you never made me feel bad about it.
No.
But I sure felt bad about that Lamborghini. I felt terrible when it was, I said, couldn't you just leave it red? No, it's a trick. Well, don't worry. I said, because this is...
John will never know.
He'll never know.
Next question.
Yeah.
All right, so on Dukes of Hazzard, thanks to Boss Hogg's Speed Trap, you ended up getting a lot of great musical guests.
Yeah, we sure did.
Yeah. So you guys have musical background. It's still a passion for you. Is there any favorites amongst that, or any fun stories you'd like to share with us?
I think I have to go with Waylon always as my favorite. Loretta Lynn was great.
Roy Orbison?
Roy Orbison was great. I mean, we had all kinds
but Loretta
of...
played a role, and so did Waylon. I mean, they actually were on it. They didn't just show up and sing.
Didn't he sing?
Johnny Paycheck, who had to get paid in cash. Here's a quarter, call somebody who cares. Remember him? Yeah. They stopped
Take
production.
this job and shove it?
Yeah. Uh-huh. They had to stop production until they got. I feel like my voice carries in this tiny, teeny little room here.
They're recording it. They want.
Oh, you are?
For prosperity.
Yep. All I remember is I came up and I said
everything's
going to
change now.
Well, Johnny was in an alternate universe.
He was. Johnny had a big gulp or something. He's a little bitty guy.
He was so little.
And I made the mistake of tapping him on the shoulder, and he threw that big gulp cup so far up in the air. I think Duke's The Speed Trap is the first place that. Didn't the Oaks sing Elvira?
Oh, that's right.
I think they did that, and then later on, when Toby Keith was just really starting, he sang "How Do You Like Me Now" on one of the reunion movies.
Yep.
So that little celebrity speed trap helped a lot of folks. But Roy Orbison was cool.
Mac Davis was our...
Mac Davis, right.
Yeah.
Mickey Gilley was on it.
Mickey Gilley.
Dottie West was on it.
Oh, she was wonderful.
But the ones that actually acted on the show were Waylon, of course, and
Loretta.
and Loretta Lynn, because that show was called Find Loretta Lynn.
Brenda Lee.
Brenda, but she didn't act on it. She just came and sang.
Yes, she did.
Then it must have been while Coy and Vance was there, because I don't remember that.
Maybe.
I have no recollection.
I love it. The scene where John and I come back, Bo and Luke return, and Coy and Vance, the door barely hit them in the butt as they were going out the door. We adiosed them pretty quick. Good guys, really good guys.
Such good guys. I felt bad for them because they had to
situation.
watch, when they weren't working, they had to watch films of Tom and John. Can you
That's
imagine?
painful.
See,
I'm saying.
Yeah, you got to stand like this and put your hand on your hip and say it like that. So they didn't get a chance to really be themselves. They weren't allowed that.
The reason why they were not very good is only because they read the dialogue as written. And it was cheesy. It really was. But the writers knew that we all would make chicken salad out of it somehow. And I remember the one time that Jimmy Best was so upset, and he said...
Yeah, so he started reading lines the way they were written.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah. So there was no could you, because the writers didn't know how to spell it.
But take this. The writers came from Gilligan's Island, I think they wrote for, and Dobie Gillis. And they were all of a type, and they were, all veteran writers, but when they decided they were going to write Dukes of Hazzard, they went to the Atlanta airport and got a phrase book, How to Talk Southern.
Right.
Well,
And they got it wrong.
I was in the writer's room. And
up the creek without a canoe.
And they would be laying on the floor. They would be on the couch. They'd be listening to the CB, to all the truckers. So they really tried, and they put everything into it. When somebody works hard, I'm in.
Yeah, but that's why in the
and that's what made us great, that we
show,
could add. That was an outline. It wasn't necessarily everything.
They were suggestions.
Yes.
And thankfully we didn't follow a lot of them. But that's why the gangsters would always show up in Hazzard County. Remember that? All of a sudden there'd be like a bunch of guys that just came out from underneath a dead horse in The Godfather.
Joe
right?
Pesci.
And they kept showing up because that was like Tom said, that was the background of where these writers had come from. One of our guys, Hi Averback, was on a lot of them came from radio too.
And MASH.
So and what?
MASH.
I didn't know that. MASH. Okay. And our directors came from. I think Holly Morris directed the pilot of Gunsmoke.
Oh yeah.
So we had amazing directors and amazing writers, but they weren't really from the same
genre.
ilk. Yeah, they were. It was an interesting.
They had no idea, and
they didn't. And they
newspapers in New York and L.A. both coasts just said, "What in the world is this?" And the Midwest got it, South got it, and eventually kind of spread out to everybody. But initially, there was. When Coy and Vance showed up, Rosenberg, one of the writers in the L.A. Times, said that they accomplished the impossible task of making Wopat and Schneider look like
good.
Olivier and Gielgud.
Yep, those were interesting times. Interesting.
I'm Olivier.
And I feel good. I feel good.
Hey guys.
Yes.
This show was obviously popularly successful in the 80s. What do you attribute it staying popular all these years later, some 40-some years later? And the second question, can you serenade us with
40-odd years later.
What was the second question?
Can you serenade us with the theme from Dukes of Hazzard?
Yes, the good old boy. You want to talk about why you think it's popular? Or
for me, I mean, if I had to do my druthers about it, I would say for me it's a lot like the Andy Griffith Show. The basic cast is good, and it's very simple. Really, it's very family
Speak for
oriented.
yourself.
What?
I'm complicated.
No, you're okay. Simple John. We both have microphones.
I know
now.
we do.
But no blood, no sex, no cussing. And those things mean that anybody can watch. Grandpa can watch, little kids can watch. And so now we're on our 5th or 6th generation of kids that are watching the show. And they dig it. It's, it's an entertainment. It's not going to cure cancer, but it's a good entertainment.
Yeah, and I think it's important when people come and talk to us, I'm sure all of us, but what I hear most of the time is memories of watching the show with your grandparents.
Yes.
So no one really ever comes, except for a couple of episodes like Ghost of General Lee or Carnival of Thrills. There are a couple of episodes that people remember very specifically, and they talk about Roscoe.
Ghost is good.
Yeah, Ghost of General Lee. Happy birthday, General Lee. But
in this corner, Luke Duke.
Well, they remember that because you directed it.
No, I did not.
You did not. Oh, you directed the basketball one. That's right.
And I directed Lulu when she got, the ransom of Red Chief, when she got kidnapped.
Right.
Oh boy.
But people, thank you, Tom. But people remember the time they spent and the family that they were with when they were watching it. So it's not just a show that's attached to, and I bet there's not a whole lot of shows like that. So it's not just a show that's kind of a singular thing that people remember. It's something that actually helped unify their family, and they have these wonderful memories of those times on Friday night or after school watching Dukes. And so we're very much a part of their family, which is
and we're very
tremendous.
appreciative.
We're so fortunate, and you guys have kept the show live for 40 years.
Yeah.
And we really, really appreciate it.
True that.
Yes.
All right. We have another question over here.
Una más.
I'm a huge fan of Dukes of Hazzard. I was just wondering, what's one of your fondest memories of Uncle Jesse, Denver Pyle?
Great question.
No, I can't say that.
What did you say? What did he kind of say?
He come out one day and he says, well, shoot, there's a hole in my overalls.
He said, oh no.
He says, somebody left their balls in here.
He played golf. He
was a funny guy. He says, if you get chapped lips, what you do is you go to a horse and you lift up the tail and you get under there where it's getting kind of nasty, and you take a little of that and you wipe it on your lips. And he said, that heals them? He says, no, but you won't lick them.
Yep.
And he'd say, now boys, when he was directing, he'd say,
don't put a handle.
when you do your lines, don't put a handle on it. Don't start with, I guess,
it's something actors say while they're trying to remember what the damn line is. It's called a handle.
John Wayne was the best.
I
get. Anyway, so we get into the scene, and the first thing out of Denver's mouth is, well,
would you look at that?
So Denver Pyle went out with Gloria Swanson. Do y'all know who that is? The lady from Sunset Boulevard. He lived with her for 5 years, and he was her little boy toy, and so he gave me all the scoop on little health things. He goes, you know what? I think you need to meet Gloria and spend some time with her, and she'll get you up to par with all these health things, because I'm always interested in health. And so Gloria Swanson and I had dinner together, and she just gave me a notebook of good, healthy ideas. I'll tell you one right now. Denver learned how to floss his nose. They put the dental floss through his nose and out his mouth and clean his sinuses. How's that one? Yep. And, okay. Now, John, now you can take it, John.
Floss your nose, John.
I have no response. I love Denver. I'm just going to keep it that way.
Denver took care of all of us. He was at our most vulnerable times. Denver was there for us.
And Sorrelbook, who played Boss, and James Best, who played Roscoe, were wonderful actors and terrific gentlemen.
Yes.
We were blessed. We had the best older bunch you could have, and they were very tolerant of us. And of course, then we had Sonny, who's nuts. Sonny, who was great.
Sonny, you hung me on the wall. We did an episode where we hung him on the wall. And you have to adhere to.
This was so awful.
You have
Tom
to
and
adhere
John, okay?
to your the clock when you are working. So right at noon, you have to go to lunch. And in those old days, if you had a canister of film, you could roll through. You'd have to call Grace. I mean, the rules are extremely strict. They've always been very, very strict. So we got Sonny on the wall. Like at 11:59, and then it was like, "Wow, shoot, we got to go to lunch." All right, that's lunch. And we went to take Sonny off the wall, and said, "No, I don't." He wouldn't let us take him off the wall because he felt it would ruin his motivation somehow.
Yeah.
So he spent an hour up there on that hook on the wall.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I think when we came back, he was asleep.
Yeah.
But Sonny is an interesting. We've known Sonny for 45 years now, and if you ask any of us, if you said, "Come on, is Sonny for real?" we'd say, "I have no idea." I have no idea. Love him to death. He came out of he's one of the reasons why I went to the audition with a 6-pack of beer. Because I'd heard about this legendary Atlanta actor who would come in and audition for something and chewed tobacco and spit on the floor. And
Sonny.
And it was Sonny. And they asked him, when you get a call back, you get another audition, please just don't spit on the floor. But Sonny, how?
So then he spit in his hand.
No, he brought a newspaper in, and he put a newspaper on the floor, and he went to spit on the newspaper for the audition, and he missed. But he got the part. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
unfortunately we're going to have to
out of
wrap
time.
this up.
There was somebody
but you
over
guys
here
are
that
awesome.
wanted to ask a question. Let him ask.
Wait,
right there.
No, there's the answer.
Okay.
Well, happy belated birthday to Tom.
Yay!
Yeah, happy birthday!
Yes, happy birthday to Tom.
39 again.
I completed my bucket list today. I met Tom Wopat. I met all three of you. So
Hey, thank you all for coming. You guys are great. You keep the show alive. One more yeehaw on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeehaw! He had a question in there.
You better get it.
Like for you guys, 45 years later, to spend the weekend together again. That would be
so great.
Wonderful.
Oh, it's great.
It's so much fun. Yeah.
We love each other.
Yeah.
We do. We are every bit as close as you would want Bo, Luke, and Daisy to be.
You guys, should we sing Tom happy birthday? Yes! Get over here, Tom.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
To me.
Happy birthday, dear Tom.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
This is John Glover, and you are watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Lionel Luther recommends it. Have some fun. Follow your fandom.